Welcome to Conscious Discipline and Our Time Together. Today we're going to talk about the fifth power in the Conscious Discipline program, and it's the power of love, which says, see the best in each other. It comes from the principle of what we offer to others, we generate an experience within ourselves. Now this is a simple principle to demonstrate and an easy one to experience. So do this with me. Right now I want you to think of someone that you adore. Just conjure up that images and let it just bubble up in your heart. Put your focus on your heart. Take a breath. And just wish that person well. And then take a moment and think, how am I feeling right now? So as we extend this well-wishing, we bubble up inside with appreciation and gratitude. And the reverse is also true. So if I judge people or see people to be lacking or wrong or bad, then that generates within me this state of irritation, this state of lack. Now the interesting thing is, let's see, the brain does not know pronouns. It doesn't know you from me. Hate and love are both internal biochemistries. We can't offer love to one person and keep hate within, or offer hate to another person and keep love within. What we offer to others, we generate within ourselves. Now, conscious discipline is a brain-based program with the goal of permanent behavior change in both adults and children. And as such, we can think of it as more than based just on a brain state model. It really is a brain, mind, body experience. And it explains why we go through life asking three questions. 1, am I safe? 2, am I loved? And 3, what can I learn? And these must be answered in order. So if the answer to the question, am I safe, is no, then the child's going to spend all its energy developing coping skills to get safe. And all that energy that can be used for engaging and learning and stuff is directed down to the lower centers of the brain where they develop coping strategies. Now, some of these coping strategies could be, well, tell you what, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. That's a great coping strategy if you're not safe. Another one might be, tell you what, I'm going to withdraw. I'll withdraw and I'll get so invisible in the classroom, no one will see me. And if you can't see me, you can't hurt me. So, but if the answer to the question to am I safe is yes, then the brain asks the next question, am I loved? But if the answer to that question is no, then the child's going to develop a whole set of coping skills to get love. Now, one of these coping skills is, well, negative attention is better than no attention at all, so I'm just going to go for it and irritate the heck out of everybody around me. Another coping strategy could be they try to get their way. I'll do whatever it is to get my way because they have defined getting my way. If you give in to me, give me what I want, equals love. So they spend their energy trying to do this, and many kids show up at school asking these basic questions, am I safe? And am I loved? But let's say the answer to the question of am I loved is yes. Well then you're up, boom. What can I learn? And you become like an Olympic athlete trying to take home the goal. You're intensely motivated, engaging, and after it, just all over life. So many kids come to school asking that question, what can I learn? Now we call these kids the good kids. And if you use a rewards and punishment system in your classroom, these will be the kids who go home with all the gold hanging around them. They got all the gold medals and they got all the stickies and all the stars. And if you're the kids in this classroom who were the I am safe or the I am loved kids, you go home simply discouraged. Over and over discouraged until finally you give up and quit. Conscious discipline empowers parents and teachers to respond to each of these questions, am I safe, am I loved, and what can I learn, in an optimal way through the environment and through their responses to conflict moments. And conscious discipline also is based on what we know best about the heart-brain connection. So we've come to know that the heart is more than a pump. Yep, we used to think all it did was pump this blood all over our body, but now we know that the heart actually is an intelligence. It has its own intelligence. The same neurotransmitters that are in our brain are in our heart. So what happens then is information comes through the environment, through our heart, which sends out an electromagnetic field way out around us, kind of like a sensing device that's out around us that emits electromagnetics and senses electromagnetic fields coming in. So if our emotions are positive, if we feel good and appreciative and grateful, then it sends a message up to our brain, yeah baby, you are safe and you are loved. So go for it, be your Olympic best. However, if our internal state, if my heart is feeling worried and irritated and concerned and grumpy and frustrated, then it sends off an incoherent pattern up to my brain which says, red alert, no you're not safe, and no, you are not loved. And the brain then shuts down, the heart closes, and we go on our defensive nature and our guard through life. Because of this electromagnetic energy that comes off of us as this wonderful intelligence, children know when you're faking it. They know when you're faking calm, and they know when you're faking caring. So what we want to do is we want to generate a pure energy of love as we approach children. In other words, we want to use this power of love to interact with kids. And this brings us full circle to this whole topic of the day, which is the power of love. And the skill is positive intent. In other words, being able to truly look at a child, whether they're looking at you and saying, you sorry, no good, and they're just coming at you. To open your heart in that moment probably is the hardest thing that we can learn to do, but the most powerful tool we have available to us. So now I want you to think about this. We spend an enormous amount of time trying to discern the intentions of others. We're always making stuff up. So let's just play a little game here. So someone is going to call you on Friday and say, yeah, I'll call you on Friday, Becky, and they fail to call you on Friday. Now you're going to see a slide and I want you to pick one of those. What do you think is the reason, the motivation? Why didn't I call? 1, I was just inconsiderate. 2, I lost track of time. 3, I had a car wreck. Or 4, I had more important things to do than to bother calling you. So, pick one of those. What do you think? Why do you think I didn't call? Now, as you may guess, you have no idea. You're going to make it up. You're going to make it up. Now, let's take this to kids. So, you're looking at a slide now and you're seeing a little boy, Garrett, and he's kind of pounding on another little boy, Andrew. So he's pounding on this kid. Now, what do you think is Garrett's intent? Why is Garrett doing this? 1, you'll see on the slide, to get back his bike. 2, to horse around and have fun. 3, just to hurt Andrew. 4, his pent-up anger. Why do you think he's doing this? Again, we just make it up. We get to make up the intent of others. Now, this brings us back again to what I was talking about with the brain and the heart. Because if we make it up negatively, if we make up a child's intent negatively, he's just trying to be disrespectful, she's just trying to be mean, he's just trying to make my day hard. I can't believe they're doing this again. If I make up their intent negatively, 3 things happen. 1, we define the core of the child as bad. Listen to this. Why did you hit her? You know better than to hit. I.e., you stupid child. You're just stupid. Or we go like this. What is our rule in this classroom about hitting? I.e., you stupid child. What should you be doing? How would you like it if other people treated you like this? I.e., you stupid child. So most of what we offer to kids is negative intent. We define the core of them as bad. The second thing it does is it keeps them stuck in the lower centers of their brain because their heart sends off the alarm, and the answer to the questions, am I safe and am I loved, is absolutely not. So it sticks them in this lower centers of their brain where they're now trying to use coping skills as opposed to learning new skills. And the third thing it does is it teaches children how to cope with abandonment and rejection. Just like I said, so they're coping with abandonment and rejection instead of learning a social skill that could last them for the rest of their life. Now, what if we make this intent up positively? What if we did it differently? What if we just assumed, instead of you being a mean idiot, that you just wanted the ball, so you hit the kid to get the ball? And we go, oh, you wanted the ball. Say, may I have a turn? Instead of looking at a child as disrespectful and disrupting the whole school, maybe the child wanted to answer the question but forgot to raise his hand. What if we just assumed, just made it up, that the intent was positive? Three things happen. One, we define the core of the child as good and his behavior just needs a little tweaking. Second, we help lift the child from the lower centers of the brain because that heart intelligence and the brain are lifting. Yes, you're safe. Yes, you're loved. Lift it up. Let's go on up to the higher centers of our brain. So we pull children up to the higher centers of the brain, so now they're saying, well, is there a different way? What could I learn? So the third thing is the child learns, is teachable. We've created a cooperative teaching moment where the child is ready and willing to learn a new social and emotional skill that they will use for the rest of their life. So negative intent sounds like this. What should you be doing? What is our rule about this? You know better than that. I'm going to put our name on the board. You go over to timeout. You go to the office. You leave this room. And positive intent starts with you want it. You wanted to move. Say, may I have a turn? You wanted that spot. Pushing. Okay. You wanted the spot she was sitting in. Pushing hurts. You may not push. When you want that spot, say, scoot over, please. I'd like to sit here. So it's a different way of viewing something, a different way of approaching it, and a different way of saying it. Now, if you'd like more, I've got them right here. If you want to learn more about the skill and practice, if you want to learn more about this skill of positive intent and practice it, and if you're a teacher, then you need to go to chapter 5, this book, and read yourself silly. Now, if you're a parent, you're going to go get this book, and I can't remember what chapter it is, but read the whole thing. It wouldn't hurt you. All right, so you'll get these two resources to help you. Now, let me share you a couple stories about this. Once we start offering positive intent, you wanted her to move. You wanted the spot. You wanted my attention. Don't yank on my coat. When you want my attention, stand here and I'll see you. I'll touch you to let you know I see you. Once we learn this skill and offer it to kids, guess what? They start using it in their life. So just a few stories. So I had this 5-year-old child. He just had a new baby. So the baby's like 8 months old. And the baby starts screaming and screaming. And he walks over to the baby and goes, you want mommy? Just say, mommy, come here. Now, of course, the child couldn't talk, but you can see he gave it his best shot. Another child was 4, and he had a younger sister that was like 2. She comes up and just nagging him and nagging him and nagging him because she kept grabbing the toy he had. Instead of smacking his young sister upside the head, the 4-year-old turns to her and says, you want to play too. Here's your toy and here's mine. And of course, she's 2. She took the toy and started playing. Another example, a 9-year-old, a couple 9-year-olds were outside. I heard this on the street myself. They're 9 years old and they're like, you wouldn't believe what she did at school. She does this and she does that and she won't do this. And the other one says, maybe she wants just to have a friend and doesn't know how. And she said, how about we asked her to sit with us at lunch tomorrow? phenomenal stories. What we offer to kids, they're going to use and teach to the next children, teach to the next children, and pretty soon positive intent has taken over and we're able to teach the social skills that children need. It's the best skill, the only skill that will change the lives of bullies. Because you cannot change a child's behavior unless you see the child differently first. Now, everyone's experienced this because you've all been in adult relationships and you've probably had more than one. So you're in an adult relationship and you're like constantly nagging this person. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why do you have to wear those shorts? Those shorts are the ugliest shorts I've ever seen. Oh my God, I can't believe what you have on today. And then you break up and then you see this person walking down the street and dressed up to the T's, looks phenomenal, and you're like, why couldn't you do that with me? Well, because you held this image of them. You kept seeing them as a sloppy dresser, and they never could measure up. You everything you put on, but they got involved with someone else, and guess what? They didn't see the sloppy dresser in them. It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy. So the same thing happens with children. They will never be able to change behavior until we see them different. Mean children can't change behavior. Only a child who's hurting, who needs help. So conscious discipline makes it simple for us. Instead of trying to figure out what a child's intent is, which we can't do, we're making it up anyway, it makes it simple. We're just going to assume the child's behavior, all misbehavior, is a call for help. So if we just make that blanket assumption, they're calling for help, we show up, we offer positive intent, we lift them to the higher centers of their brain, we keep ourselves at the higher centers of our brain, we teach them a new skill, and life moves forward. So I want to share this final story, and this is on your screen. You can see it's from the Times in a small city. And the article says, alteration over bar seat ends in shooting. And if you can't read this story, but I'll tell you, I'll sum it up for you. Now what happened? Two women in a bar and they're fighting over a stool. One gal gets up, goes into the restaurant, the other gal slides over and sits on her stool. She comes back out of the restaurant and she's just outraged. But then she kind of lets it go. Now the second girl, the girl on the stool, gets up and goes to the restaurant. The one slips back up, gets back on the bar stool. So they're having a power struggle over who's going to sit on this one bar stool. Well, the second gal coming out of the restroom, she didn't get into a verbal argument. She pulls out a gun and shoots her. Goes through her arm, completely through the one arm, and then hits another bystander out there. The moral of the story is that negative intent led to violence. And negative intent always leads to violence. What if we took our simple process and applied it to the bar stool situation? It would sound something like this. You wanted the bar seat, so you pulled out a gun. You didn't know what else to do. You may not shoot. Shooting is hurtful and dangerous. When you want the bar stool, say, may I have this stool, please? It's very important to me. And then they will say yes or no, and then you can manage that also by taking a deep breath, saying to yourself, I'm safe. Keep breathing, Becky. I can handle this. I'll sit over there. That sounds ridiculous and sounds simple, but to me it sounds easy if we have children grow up thinking all they have to do is offer positive intent to one another. In this case, we would build a world where we're all in a teachable moment instead of moments where we're all after each other's throats. All children are going to be asking, am I safe? Am I loved? And what can I learn? Positive intent brings us to the higher centers of our brain and brings children to the higher centers of our brain, allowing us to coach and mentor them. Now, some people don't like positive intent because they say, oh, you're coddling the kids, you're going to let them get away with murder, you're going to be so permissive, you wanted to see it. They say, well, no, we got to, smack them upside the head or hurt them in some way. But let me ask you this question. Have any of you ever had a mentor in your life? Someone that really has stretched you, that helped you grow? that coached you to be better than you are today, that saw something in you, a spark inside you that you probably couldn't even see yourself. And they saw it even when you were the worst you possible. They kept seeing that spark in you. Did they allow you to get away with murder? Were they too permissive? Or did they help you become the best you've ever been? We can do this for children with the power of love. Until next time, I wish you well.